Hi.
Hi.
What should one know about marriage before deciding whether to participate in marriage?
그 결혼 안 한 나한테 물어보면 어떻게 내가 알아요?
So you're asking a Buddhist monk about marriage.
내가 가진 권리를 최소 미니멈 절반 이상 포기할 준비를 해야 합니다.
You have to be ready to give up half, at least half of your rights.
그러면 누구하거나 함께 살 수 있습니다.
Then you'll be able to engage in a happy marriage no matter who they are.
그렇게 준비가 됐습니까?
Are you ready to do so?
Maybe not yet.
그럼 결혼하면 안 돼.
Then don't get married until you are.
그럼 자꾸 갈등을 일으키게 돼.
Because that causes conflicts in a marriage.
그래서 결혼한 뒤에 괜히 했다 하는 후회가 생깁니다.
So that's why a lot of people regret being married.
그러니까 행복하려고 결혼하잖아요.
Because we get married to be happy, right?
근데 결혼이 더 불행을 가져옵니다.
But some marriages bring about unhappiness.
상대의 문제가 아니에요.
So it's not their problem.
내가 준비가 안 된 거예요.
It was the fact that you were unprepared.
절반 이상.
So more than half.
미니멈 절반.
At least half.
내려놔야 합니다.
You have to be able to let go.
예를 들어서
For example,
나는 방안 온도가 25도가 적당한데
say you like about 78 degrees for your room,
남편은 20도가 적당하다.
but your husband wants 60 degrees.
이거 지금 화시가 자기가 하는 거야. 그럴 때 이 방안 온도를 고집하면 갈등이 생깁니다.
But if you insist on 78 degrees, then you create conflict.
세타를 입고
So wear a sweater,
그냥 20도를 맞춰줘야 됩니다.
then allow the room temperature to be 60.
그럼 문제가 안 됩니다.
Then there's no problem at all.
결혼하면 이런 문제가
However, when you get married, these little problems,
100개, 1000개, 10,000개 헤아릴 수 없이 많습니다.
you'll have countless of these little problems, hundreds, thousands, 10,000.
그렇기 때문에 20도로 상대에게 맞춰버리면 아무 문제가 안 생깁니다.
So if you allow him to have his preference, then there's no problem at all.
이러면 100% 성공합니다.
Then you will have 100% success rate in your marriage.
그래도 어디까지는 자기가 해야 되느냐? 22.5도까지는 양보해야 됩니다. 미니멈.
But then, but you have to be able to compromise at least to 69, which is right at half.
그러면 이 문제가 해결되느냐?
Then does that mean this problem is solved?
이것은 확실하지는 않습니다.
We can't be 100% positive.
상대가 20도를 계속 고집하면
Because if your husband even then refuses to compromise and insists on 60,
이렇게 절반 양보해서는 안 될 수도 있습니다.
there are times that going halfway does not solve the issue.
그래서 절반 양보하면 절반 성공합니다.
So if you go only halfway, you'll half succeed.
그러니까 미니멈 절반 이상이라 해야 된다.
So you have to be at least half, but be prepared to give up more.
준비 안 됐죠?
You're not ready yet, are you?
나이가 된다고 결혼하는 거 아니에요.
Just because you are older doesn't mean you're ready for marriage.
직장이나 돈이나 직업이나 이런 것이 아닙니다.
Just because you have a good job, profession, or house or car doesn't mean you're ready.
같이 살 준비가 돼야 돼요.
You have to be ready to live with another person.
그러면 상대에게 맞춰야 합니다.
Then you have to be able to cater to their needs and preferences.
맞추는다는 것은 내의 권리를 절반 이상 포기해야 됩니다.
By catering, I mean you are willing to compromise at least half of your preferences and
포기하기
needs.
싫으면 결혼하지 마세요.
And if you don't want to do so, then don't get married.
나는 포기하기 싫어서 이렇게 혼자 사는 거예요.
So I'm not ready to give up my rights. That's why I'm living by myself.
All right, thank you.
Hello. So I have a question, again, kind of about organized religion. I find myself appreciating a lot of different religions. However, I always find myself also finding issues with most religions. So it's kind of a two-part question. Is it possible to fully believe everything about a certain religion, or does it turn into some kind of dogma at some point for everybody? And secondly, I've recently discovered oneness. I was wondering if you have any thoughts on the idea of oneness, or even if we were to remove the label of that, just the idea of unifying humanity under a single belief.
What was your second question again about oneness?
The second question was, even removing the label of oneness, what are your thoughts on unifying humanity under one belief? Is it possible for us to remove the label of different religions and work towards a common belief system or a common goal?
왜 하나로 만들고 싶습니까?
Why do you want to put the world under one belief system?
여러 개 있으면 왜 안 됩니까?
Why isn't diverse set of belief system bad?
식탁에 반찬이 여러 개 있습니다.
For example, you have different dishes on your table.
먹고 싶은 거 먹으면 되잖아요.
You can choose to eat those dishes that you want to eat.
내가 한 가지 좋아한다고
Just because you like one particular
왜
dish,
다른 걸 다 없애려고 합니까?
why do you want to get rid of other dishes?
안 그러면 왜 한 그릇에 다 집어넣어 비빔밥을 만들려고 합니까?
Or why do you want to mix all the foods together into one huge dish?
각각이 먹고 싶은 사람은 그들이 알아서 먹고
So for those dishes that others like, they'll partake themselves of those dishes.
전부 섞어서 비빔밥 해서 먹고 싶은 사람 먹고
And if you want to mix it all together, then you can eat that as well.
두 개 먹고 싶은 사람 두 개 먹고
But if somebody wants to eat just 2 dishes, they're fine to do so.
그들의 문제입니다.
That's their issues.
그래서 사람들이 먹고 싶은 대로 놔둬야 돼요.
So just let people eat whatever dish they want.
사람들 따라 이게 더 맛있다 저게 더 맛있다 할 거예요.
Then one people prefer some dish over another.
그들의 식성이 그러니까요.
That's their appetite.
왜 그것을 굳이 맛이 똑같다라고 얘기할 필요가 없잖아요.
So there's no need for us to tell them to eat the same dish or they should prefer the same dish.
그래서 제가 볼 때는 굉장히 위험한 생각을 하는 것 같아요.
So I think that is a very dangerous idea.
그냥 내버려 두세요.
Just let them be.
그들 좋은 대로 살게.
Allow them to live their lives.
왜 거기 간섭하려고 그래요?
Why do you want to interfere in that?
그리고 같은 점도 있고 다른 점도 있어요.
And of course there are similar aspects, there are different aspects.
한 가지로 귀속된다. 이것도 위험한 생각이에요.
I think it's dangerous notion to want to have one belief system.
다 다른 것도 아니고 다 같은 것도 아니에요.
Because nothing is completely different, nor are they completely the same.
다른 점도 있고 같은 점도 있는 거예요.
There are differences and similarities.
그대로 그냥 받아들이셔야 돼요.
And accept that as that.
어떻게 생각하세요?
What do you think?
No, I completely agree that diversity is a great thing. I guess from what I see, there are a lot of religions that practice more exclusion practices where it's kind of their way or the highway. And I'm just wondering, how can we work towards maybe not necessarily one belief system, but a belief system that allows everyone to partake in the way that they would like to partake without stepping on each other's toes?
네, 그것마저도 고집하면 안 된다는 거예요.
But even that, you should not be too attached over. You shouldn't.
그렇게 되면 좋은데
So it's good if that happens.
어떤 종교는 그렇지 않는 종교도 있어요.
But there are religions that will refuse to participate.
이 음식만 맛있다.
It will continue to be stubborn on the fact that only this dish
이것만
is
먹어라.
tasty. Then you have to only eat this dish.
그런 사람도 있는 거예요.
Then just accept the fact that that's part of the diversity.
그래서 거기 좋아 보이는 사람은 가게 놔두고
If those people who agree with that, they can go ahead and just eat that dish.
나는 그게 안 좋으면
But if you don't like that dish,
난 자유롭게 하면 돼요.
then you are free to act accordingly.
이 배타성은 어쩔 수 없는 거예요.
So exclusivity in religions is inevitable
왜냐 그러면 역사적인 문제예요.
because it's a historical issue.
옛날에는 자기가 태어나서 주로 그 지역에서 살았습니다.
Because in the past, we actually were born and raised and lived the rest of our lives in that one local area.
즉 같은 중국 사람끼리만 산다든지
So Chinese lived with only Chinese.
같은 한국 사람끼리만 산다든지
Koreans lived with only fellow Koreans.
같은 기독교인끼리만 산다든지
Christians only saw other Christians.
그래서 자기가 옳다는 생각을 갖게 된 거예요.
And they thought their way was the right way.
다른 것에 대해서 배타적일 수밖에 없었습니다.
So they had no choice but to naturally be exclusive to others.
그런 의식의 습관이 현재 형성되어 있는 거예요.
So we have that cognitive habit of exclusivity ingrained in us.
근데 이제 이게 지금 뒤섞여 살게 된 거예요.
But now we are actually very interconnected.
그래서 충돌하고 있습니다.
And that habit is coming into conflict with our interconnected reality.
영리한 사람은 이거 빨리 알아차리고 다양성을 인정하는데
So smarter people, wiser people recognize that and accept diversity.
그렇지 않는 사람은 아직도 자기 것만 고집하고 있는 거예요.
But those who are not as quick to catch on are still stubborn in their own set of exclusivity.
그러나 한 1세기가 더 지나가면
But a century from now,
서로 인정하는 쪽으로 점점 나아갈 거예요.
I believe we're, as humanity, going to flow towards being more receptive of that diversity of the differences.
옛날에 한국 사람이고 일본 사람이 일본 사람이었어요.
Before, Koreans were Koreans and Japanese were Japanese.
지금 한국에서 태어났는데 일본 사람이 된 사람도 있고.
But today we have Koreans who are born in Korea who are now Japanese.
한국 사람이 태어났는데 미국 사람도 있습니다.
And we have Koreans who are born in Korea who are now Americans.
100년 전에 이런 일 없었어요.
100 years ago, this does not happen.
그래서 지금 코리안 아메리칸이라고 하지
So
않습니까?
we have Korean Americans.
그런 것처럼 전에는 기독교 믿는 사람은 기독교만 믿었는데
So before, Christians were only Christians.
이제 불교를 접하게 된 거예요.
But maybe they encounter Buddhist teachings.
불교가 좋아서 불교로 바꿔도 되고
So they can convert to Buddhism.
두 개 다 하고 싶다.
But if they want both,
그렇게 해도 돼요.
then they can actually partake in both traditions.
크리스천 부디스트를 하면 되는 거예요.
Then he become Christian Buddhist.
아무 문제도
So
없어요.
there's no problem with that.
우리 중국 같은 경우를 보세요.
For example, if you look at China,
사회주의는 계획경제.
so socialism had to do with planned economies,
자본주의는 시장경제.
and capitalism had to do with market economies.
근데 지금 중국은 사회주의하고 시장경제 하잖아요.
But now China is a socialist country that's involved in market economy.
오히려 이게 경쟁력 있잖아요.
This actually is proving out to be very competitive.
앞으로 크리스천 부디스트도 경쟁력 있을 거예요.
So I think Christian Buddhists can be just as competitive and popular,
부디스트 크리스천도 있을 수
or
있습니다.
Buddhist Christians.
왜 선택을 해야 됩니까?
So why do we need to make an exclusive choice?
하나를 해도 되고
You can do one,
두 개 하고 싶으면 두 개 다 해도 되고
or you can do two.
그건 자유예요.
You have the freedom to do so.
시간이 흐르면 자연스럽게 그런 쪽으로 갈 거예요.
And I think with enough time, we'll naturally flow towards more
옛날의 경우에
diversity.
여성의 경우는 한 남자하고만 결혼했지 않습니까?
In the past, a woman was only allowed to marry once.
남자가 죽어도 혼자 살아야 돼요.
So if the husband died, you still have to live as a widow for the rest of
지금
your life.
살아있는데도 헤어지고 딴 사람하고
But these
살잖아요.
days, your husband is still alive, but you can divorce and get another husband.
그렇기 때문에 이 종교에 대해서도 너무 이렇게 고정관념을 가질 필요가 없습니다.
So we don't have to look at religions with one static paradigm.
부처님이나 예수님은 우리를 사고를 자유롭게 가르친 거예요.
Because what Jesus and Buddha ultimately taught is for us to learn to think freely.
그러나 지금 거꾸로 도로 반대로 폐쇄적으로 되어 있는 거예요.
But we have turned twisted those teachings around to actually make them into exclusivity, into little spheres of exclusivity.
그러나 앞으로 미래 사회는 이것이 다시 본래로 돌아갈 거예요.
But in the future, I believe that we're going to go back to the original teachings.
그렇지 못한 것은 세력이 점점 약화될 거예요.
Because those who oppose that larger flow, I think it's going to become weaker.
그런 폐쇄적인 종교가 있다면
So if we still have those really closed off, exclusive religions,
그것을 미워하지 말고
instead of hating them,
수명이 다 돼간다.
just recognize that they're actually at their end.
이렇게 생각하세요.
And know that they're nearing the end of their life cycle.
100년이 지나 보면 없어질 거 많아요.
Because 100 years from now, there will be a lot of things that exist today that will not exist then.
Thank you.